Welcome to Stories Junction. Let's begin today's story. My name is James. When someone you care about shatters the life you've built together, you're left with a choice. Collapse under the weight of betrayal or rise and take control. When my girlfriend, Sarah, sent me a text saying she'd found someone new and wanted nothing more to do with me, I made a decision she never anticipated. By the end of the week, it was her lawyer reaching out to me, scrambling to respond to the move I'd made. I met Sarah through a close friend, someone I respected, at a time when my life was finally falling into place. I'd been at the law firm for 4 years, putting in the hours, proving my reliability. My hard work was starting to pay dividends. One day, the managing partner called me into his office. After a brief, no-nonsense discussion, I walked out with a promotion letter in hand. It wasn't a fluke. I'd earned it through countless late nights and weekends spent poring over legal briefs instead of kicking back. The promotion came with a better salary, a monthly stipend, and a company-issued sedan, sharp enough to turn heads in the parking lot of my modest apartment. That's when I knew it was time for a change. My life was on an upward trajectory, and I wanted my surroundings to match. I moved to a nicer place in a peaceful suburb, somewhere that felt like a fresh start. I mentioned to my friend that I was ready to meet someone, and she didn't hesitate. "I know a girl," she said. "She's reserved, but I think you'd click." That's how Sarah came into my life. From our first meeting, there was something about her, warm, driven, and emotionally present. Maybe I trusted her too quickly because of my friend's endorsement, but I believed she'd vetted Sarah thoroughly. I assumed she was someone I could rely on. As our relationship grew serious, Sarah hit a rough patch financially. She'd mentioned being short on rent or struggling with small expenses. I didn't mind stepping in. It wasn't a strain, and I wanted to ease her stress. Over dinner one evening, she confessed she was burned out from her office job. She dreamed of breaking free from the 9 to 5 and starting an online boutique selling handmade jewelry and home decor. I encouraged her, asking about her business plan, marketing strategy, anything to understand her vision. But a week later, I was stunned when she casually mentioned she'd already quit her job, without a word to me beforehand. I pressed her gently. "What's your runway? How much did you save?" When she told me the amount, my stomach tightened. It was barely enough to cover a month, maybe 2 if she was frugal. No steady income, no safety net, just a dream and a thin stack of savings. I asked if she'd considered how long it takes most startups to turn a profit. She waved it off, insisting she had a plan and was confident sales would pick up soon. Her certainty made me question my skepticism, but deep down I wasn't convinced. I'd seen too many businesses crash and burn when optimism outpaced reality. Sure enough, her boutique flopped almost immediately. The website barely got traffic, and orders were non-existent. Her savings dwindled, and soon she was behind on rent. One day, she called me in tears. Her car had been repossessed. The panic in her voice was raw, and I could see she was drowning. I wasn't about to let someone I loved spiral, so I offered her a lifeline. "Move in with me." I had the space, and I was already covering my own expenses. I also gave her the keys to my old car, a reliable sedan I no longer needed since I had the company vehicle. It felt like the right thing to do, a way to help her get back on her feet. But then the calls started. At first, I dismissed them as spam, unfamiliar numbers lighting up my phone. One day, I answered, and a gruff voice on the other end said, "Your girlfriend owes us money. If she doesn't pay soon, we're escalating this." I was floored. Debt? Sarah hadn't breathed a word about owing anyone anything. I had no idea how they even got my number. I told them I'd look into it and hung up, immediately calling Sarah. She didn't pick up. I left a voicemail, my tone firm but calm, asking for an explanation. Hours later, she texted back, apologizing, admitting the debt was real, a fallout from her failed business. She said she'd been trying to handle it quietly and begged me to help her cover it, promising to pay me back once she got herself together. I wasn't thrilled. The secrecy stung more than the debt itself. If she'd been upfront, I would have understood, but letting it get to the point where creditors were calling me at work, that crossed a line. Still, I paid it off, wanting to protect her from the stress and legal threats. I told myself it was a one-time thing, that she'd learned her lesson. But the question lingered, What else wasn't she telling me? And as I handed over the money, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Not long after Sarah moved in, she approached me with a new pitch for her boutique. This time, she came prepared, laying out what she'd learned from her first failure. Better suppliers, targeted ads, a leaner inventory. She asked for a loan to restart, promising to build slowly and repay me once things stabilized. I listened, saw the effort in her plan, and gave her the money. She also started using my old laptop for work, which I didn't mind since I wasn't using it. My apartment gradually became our space, at least in her eyes, though I was still covering every bill: rent, utilities, groceries. She said she needed time to reinvest her profits, and I agreed to be patient. I believed in her potential, even if doubts still lingered. Months passed, and her business showed signs of life. The website started getting steady traffic, orders trickled in, and she even got some buzz on social media with customers posting photos of her jewelry. For the first time, it felt like her dream might actually work. I was genuinely proud, relieved to see her standing on her own. I'd always pictured a future with Sarah, maybe even marriage, but I'd held off, waiting for the right moment. Now that her business was gaining traction and she wasn't leaning on me for every expense, I started to feel like that moment was close. I didn't tell her, but I reached out to her best friend to help plan something special. A proposal that would feel personal, something that would catch Sarah off guard in the best way. I even ordered a custom ring, dipping into my savings without a second thought. I was all in. But then, one evening, everything shifted. It was a long day for both of us. I'd been buried in case files at the firm, and Sarah had been packing orders all afternoon. Neither of us felt like cooking, so I suggested ordering takeout. She usually handled it since she had a delivery app account set up. I grabbed her phone, something I'd done plenty of times before, but as I swiped through to find the app, I froze. There, tucked in her app drawer, was a dating app. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it. I opened it, and my chest tightened as I scrolled through messages. Guys complimenting her, flirting, asking to meet up. Some messages were too forward to repeat. Sarah wasn't just receiving them. She was responding. Nothing suggested she'd met anyone in person, but the conversations weren't innocent either. She was engaging regularly. I called her name. Sarah walked in from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dishcloth. I held up the phone, the app open, and asked, "What is this?" She glanced at the screen, shrugged, and said, "It's nothing, James. I don't meet anyone. I just like the attention sometimes." Her casual tone threw me. Attention? I scrolled through the messages again, trying to process her excuse. It wasn't about whether she'd met anyone. It was the fact that she was even on there, seeking validation from strangers while living with me, while I was planning our future. I asked her how she could justify it. My voice steady but sharp. She doubled down, saying it was harmless, that I was overreacting. That night, something in me broke. We had a routine. Every night, no matter how tired I was, I'd kiss her goodnight, hold her close before we slept. But I couldn't do it. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, the hurt settling in like a heavy fog. I didn't know how to act normal anymore. Sarah's words echoed in my head, but they didn't add up. If she needed attention, why not talk to me? Why go behind my back? I started questioning everything. Every late-night phone call she took, every time she stepped out to run errands. Was this who she really was? The days that followed were tense, like navigating a tightrope. Sarah's behavior changed. She started picking fights over small things, like me working late or forgetting to restock the fridge. It felt deliberate, like she was painting me as the problem to justify her own actions. When I tried to address the app, she turned it on me, calling me jealous, controlling, accusing me of not trusting her. I told her it wasn't about trust, it was about respect. If she needed validation from random men online, we had a deeper issue. She didn't want to hear it. Instead, she'd storm off or shut down, leaving me to wonder if I was the one in the wrong. One night, it all came to a head. What started as a small disagreement spiraled into a shouting match. Sarah grabbed her bag, her keys, and walked out without a word. I sat on the couch, expecting her to come back after cooling off like she had before. But hours passed, and the apartment stayed silent. I checked my phone. No messages, no calls. Around 1 a.m., I texted her, "Where are you?" No response. I stayed up, refreshing my phone, trying not to let my mind run wild. The next morning, a notification lit up my screen. It was from Sarah. "I found someone else. I'm done with you. Don't contact me." My heart sank, then burned. Was she cheating all along? Was this someone else, that while I was bailing her out, giving her a place to stay? The betrayal cut deep, but I refused to let it consume me. I typed back, "Fine. Your choice." And then I started planning my next move. I came home from the firm that evening, still reeling from Sarah's text. The apartment felt different when I walked in, emptier, somehow. It didn't take long to see why. While I'd been at work, Sarah had come by and cleared out her things. Clothes, jewelry supplies, personal items gone. But it wasn't just her stuff. The old car I'd lent her, missing from the parking lot. The laptop she'd been using for her business, taken. Even some small household items I'd bought, a coffee maker, a few electronics, had vanished. It hit me like a punch. She didn't just leave me. She took everything she could carry, as if I owed her for walking out. The realization settled in, cold and heavy. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment exit. She'd planned it, waited for me to be gone, and stripped the place of anything she thought she could claim. The sting of her betrayal was one thing, but this was theft, plain and simple. I sat on the couch, staring at the empty spaces where her things used to be, and something shifted inside me. I was done being the guy who let things slide, who trusted blindly because I thought love meant giving endlessly. Sarah wanted to play dirty? Fine. I wasn't going to let her walk away with pieces of my life. I grabbed my phone and texted my lawyer, Alex, a guy I'd known since law school who never minced words. "We need to meet tomorrow morning," I wrote. "Urgent." He called back within minutes, and I laid it all out. The car, the laptop, the household items, the debts I'd paid off for her. I told him I wanted everything back. Every dime, every item I'd given her out of trust. Alex didn't sugarcoat it. "This won't be easy," he said, "but if you've got proof, we can build a case. Start gathering anything you have, receipts, texts, bank statements." I spent the rest of the night digging through my records, pulling up purchase receipts for the laptop, the car's title in my name, and bank transfers showing the money I'd sent to cover her debts. I even found texts where she'd promised to pay me back, her words clear as day. The next morning, I sat in Alex's office, a stack of documents in front of me. He skimmed through them, nodding. "This is solid," he said. "We'll start with a demand letter. Formal, no ambiguity. She returns the car, the laptop, and starts repaying the debts, or we escalate." He drafted the letter that day, outlining everything I'd given her and demanding immediate return of the car and laptop, plus a repayment plan for the money I'd covered. I read it over, signed it, and felt a strange calm. This wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming what was mine. Days passed, and Sarah didn't respond. Not a call, not a text, nothing. I wasn't surprised, but it fueled my resolve. Alex followed up with another letter, this time with a deadline. Still silence. "She's either dodging us or thinks you won't push," Alex said. "Time to file." We submitted a formal complaint to the court, attaching every piece of evidence I'd collected. The process moved faster than I expected. A summons was issued, and suddenly Sarah's carefree exit wasn't so simple anymore. Then my phone rang one afternoon, an unknown number. I picked up, expecting a work call. Instead, a man's voice introduced himself as Sarah's lawyer. "We need to talk about this situation," he said, his tone clipped. "You can't just demand everything back like this." I leaned back in my chair, keeping my voice steady. "Actually, I can. Everything I gave her was mine, documented, paid for, acknowledged. If she wants to discuss it, she could talk to my lawyer." I hung up, my pulse steady but my mind racing. Sarah had underestimated me, thought I'd roll over like I had when I paid her debts or let her use my things. But I wasn't that guy anymore. From that point on, everything went through Alex. Court dates were set, documents filed, and the case started taking shape. My evidence was airtight, texts where she admitted owing me money, bank records showing every payment, even a photo of the car's title in my name. Then Sarah's tone shifted. Through her lawyer, she reached out, suggesting a private settlement. The same woman who'd walked out without a backward glance, who'd taken my things and told me she was done, now wanted to talk. I wasn't having it. I told Alex to respond with my terms, return the car, the laptop, and every cent I'd spent bailing her out. And since she'd ignored my initial letter, forcing me to go legal, she could cover my attorney fees too. Anything less, and we'd see her in court. A week later, the car was back in my parking spot, the laptop delivered to Alex's office. But the money? Sarah claimed her business was struggling again, asking for time to pay me back. She even tried to tug at my emotions, saying she was overwhelmed and just needed a break. I didn't bite. I told Alex to keep the pressure on. The court set a payment plan, structured to ensure she'd repay every dime over time. When the judge signed off, I felt a weight lift, not because I'd won, but because I'd drawn a line. Sarah had made her choices, and now she'd face the consequences. But as I drove home that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. Sarah wasn't the type to let things end cleanly, and I braced myself for what she might try next. The court's payment plan was in place, and Sarah made her first payment on time. I'll give her that. For a moment, I wondered if she'd stick to it, if she'd finally take responsibility and follow through. But I didn't let myself get too hopeful. I'd learned the hard way that Sarah's promises didn't always hold weight. I kept my distance, letting the legal process do its work while I focused on rebuilding my life. The apartment felt like mine again, free of her clutter and the tension that had hung in the air. I threw myself into work, taking on new cases at the firm, and even started hitting the gym again, something I'd let slide while I'd been caught up in her chaos. Then about a month later, I was at my desk, finishing up a contract review when my phone buzzed. Sarah's name flashed on the screen, a voice message. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the play button. Part of me wanted to delete it unread, but curiosity got the better of me. Her voice came through, softer than I remembered, almost rehearsed. "James, I'm so sorry," she said. "I messed up. I regret how things ended. Can we at least be friends? This legal stuff, it's so cold. We weren't always like this." She paused, her voice catching as if she was fighting tears. "I miss you." I sat there, staring at my phone, the words sinking in. It wasn't the apology that threw me. It was the audacity. Friends? After she'd taken my things, lied about her debts, and walked out with a text saying she'd found someone else? I played the message again, listening for any hint of sincerity, but all I heard was manipulation. She wasn't sorry. She was cornered. The legal pressure was real now, and this was her trying to wiggle out of it, to pull me back into her orbit. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I forwarded the message to Alex, asking if it changed anything legally. "Not a thing," he replied. "She's fishing. Stay firm." Over the next few days, more messages came. Texts at first, short ones like, "Remember that weekend we drove to the coast?" Or, "I found one of your old shirts in my stuff, made me smile." Then another voice note, longer this time, reminiscing about our early days, how we'd stay up late talking, how I'd made her feel safe. It was calculated, each word designed to tug at memories, to make me question whether I was being too hard on her. But I saw through it. She wasn't reaching out because she cared. She was trying to soften me up, hoping I'd ease off on the repayment plan or drop the legal fees. I'd been her safety net before, and she thought she could play that card again. I didn't bite. I sent one reply. "Focus on the payments. All communication goes through my lawyer." Short, direct, no room for misinterpretation. But the messages kept coming, sporadic but persistent, like she was testing how long it'd take to wear me down. One night, she texted a photo, an old one of us at a friend's barbecue, laughing, my arm around her. "We were happy once," she wrote. I stared at the picture, feeling a flicker of something. Nostalgia, maybe, but it faded fast. That happiness was real, but it was built on trust she'd shattered. I deleted the photo and blocked her number. If she wanted to talk, she could deal with Alex. The second payment came late. Not by much, a few days, but enough to raise a flag. Alex noticed it too and sent a reminder to her lawyer, citing the court order. Her lawyer responded, claiming she was struggling financially and needed an extension. Alex wasn't having it. "She's had enough breaks," he told me. We pushed forward. He filed a motion to enforce the payment schedule, and the court didn't hesitate to back us up. Sarah's lawyer scrambled, offering a partial payment to buy time, but I wasn't interested in half measures. She'd taken enough from me, my money, my trust, my time. I wasn't giving her an inch more. Then, out of the blue, she showed up at my office. I was in a meeting when the receptionist buzzed, saying someone was here to see me. I walked out to the lobby, and there she was, dressed carefully like she'd spent time picking her outfit. "James, please," she said before I could speak. "Can we just talk? Not through lawyers, just us." Her eyes were wide, pleading, but I'd seen that look before when she needed money, when she needed me to fix her messes. I kept my voice calm. "There's nothing to say. You know the terms. Stick to them." I turned and walked back to my office, leaving her standing there. It felt cold, final but necessary. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I regretted shutting her down, but because I kept wondering what she'd try next. Sarah wasn't someone who gave up easily. Not when she wanted something. I started checking my accounts, my credit, just to be sure she hadn't pulled anything else behind my back. Everything was clean, but the paranoia lingered. I'd underestimated her once, trusted her too blindly. Now, I was watching every angle, waiting for her next move, knowing this story wasn't over yet. Sarah's attempts to pull me back didn't stop, but they grew weaker, more desperate. The third payment arrived, late again, and with it came another text, this time from a new number. She'd figured out I'd blocked her old one. "James, I'm trying," it read. "This is hard for me. Can't you see I'm doing my best?" I didn't respond. Her best was a pattern of delays and excuses, and I wasn't here to play her game anymore. Alex filed another motion, and the court tightened the screws, warning her of penalties if she missed another deadline. Her lawyer pushed back, claiming her business was barely breaking even, but the judge wasn't swayed. My evidence, texts, bank statements, receipts, painted a clear picture. I'd given her everything, and she'd taken advantage. Then came the social media campaign. I started noticing posts from mutual friends, subtle at first, hinting that I was being too harsh, or that Sarah was going through a lot. One post even called me out indirectly, something about people who hold grudges instead of forgiving. I knew she was behind it, planting stories to make me look like the villain. It was clever. She was trying to turn our circle against me, hoping I'd back off to save face. But I'd learned my lesson about caring what others thought. I reached out to a few close friends, laid out the truth, her debts, the dating app, the stolen items, and the post quieted down. Sarah's narrative wasn't sticking. One evening, about 6 months into the payment plan, I got a call from her lawyer. He sounded tired, like he was as done with this as I was. "She wants to settle," he said. "Full repayment of the remaining balance, plus half the legal fees, if you agree to drop the case." I asked Alex what he thought. "It's a decent offer," he said, "but you're in the driver's seat. She's only offering because she knows she's losing." I thought over. The money mattered, but so did the principle. She'd walked out, taken my things, and tried to rewrite the story. Settling felt like letting her off easy, but dragging this out forever wasn't worth my energy either. I agreed on one condition: full repayment, all legal fees, and a signed agreement that she'd have no further contact with me. Her lawyer hesitated, then agreed. 2 weeks later, the funds hit my account, and the case was closed. The car was back, the laptop returned, the debts paid. I should have felt victorious, but mostly I felt empty, not sad, just done. Sarah's final attempt came a month later. A handwritten letter slipped under my apartment door. No return address, just her familiar handwriting. "I never meant to hurt you," she wrote. "I got lost, made mistakes. I hope one day you can forgive me." She mentioned her business was picking up, that she was in a better place now. I read it once, then tossed it in the trash. Forgiveness wasn't the issue. Trust was. She'd shown me who she was, and I wasn't going to forget. I started moving forward, piece by piece. I redecorated the apartment, erasing the last traces of her presence. Work became my anchor again. New clients, bigger cases, and a promotion that felt like a reward for keeping my head down. I even started dating again, cautiously, taking my time to vet people myself. No more blind trust. No more relying on someone else's word. My friend who'd introduced us apologized, admitting she hadn't known Sarah as well as she thought. I didn't hold it against her. Mistakes happen, but it was a reminder to guard my own boundaries. Looking back, I don't regret helping Sarah when she was down. I don't even regret loving her. What I regret is ignoring the red flags, thinking love meant saying yes to everything. I learned that protecting yourself isn't about being cold or selfish. It's about knowing your worth and not letting someone else rewrite your story. Sarah's payments are done, her name's off my phone, and the legal file is closed. But the lessons she left me with, those stay sharp and clear, guiding me into whatever comes next. And if she ever thinks she can cross my path again, she'll find a man who knows exactly what he's worth and what he'll never owe anyone again.